Get things adjusted. Looks good. Yeah. Will it focus properly? That's the question of the day. Let's see if anybody sees this and comes running. Make sure to hit that like. Hi, Jeff. What's up? Just going to put a little message in the chat. Oops. Pin Jeff's message. Nope. Sorry, Jeff. Yes, you are first. Congratulations. So, welcome to live number 4. Let's see how this works. If anybody else decides to come in and enjoy the fun festivities and maybe some bloopers, who knows? Yes, please share this. All right, I made a couple of cuts on some material. First off, this nice big slab of howardite. There was a little bit off here that I cut just to test out the material. Should be interesting stuff. And then the alleged fossilized stromatolite, which is probably a mushroom rhyolite. Also made a little slice off of that. Forget which way I did that. I think it was that way. Again, just to test this material. I have never ever cut either the howardite or this rhyolite before. And possibly, if there's enough time, the last of my precious Lambina opal. And haven't decided whether I want to make this alive or not. It's a weird shape, and I kind of want to slice it for no good reason other than just to practice. Welcome in, Cheryl. No, I have not shared this in Discord. I didn't remember, which is a shame. Oh well, maybe next time. Also, I'll try to figure out how to get scheduled lives to work, but that's fine. All right, so this first piece is 15.7 by 15 by 10 millimeters, and it weighs 10.35 carats, and whatever it is, stromatolite, rhyolite, obsidian, whatever you want to call this stuff. It's pretty cool looking. And I just wanted to cut off a small enough piece to kind of shape to see how it reacts. And originally I had planned maybe this side to face. Then I see this in the cut zone, which is also kind of cool. But who knows? I'm just going to shape it up into a more squarish piece. And maybe I'll make it an oval. Maybe I'll go with a cushion cut. We'll just go with whatever happens. Welcome, Jeremy. All right, I have started out with the 80 grit sintered diamond burr because that's the coarsest one I have. And I have no clue how hard this stuff is. It didn't seem especially hard. In fact, I think the howardite was actually the harder of the two. Anyway, enough of me talking. Let's get on with this. Actually, move up the Dremel a tad. This is rather bad timing, I'm afraid. Romania Rockhounds is running a live sale. Sir Roxalot is also live cutting. It is what it is. Hi, Alan. Well, this stuff is definitely harder than Opal. I like how it went from 26 people to 3. I guess this just doesn't interest a lot of people. I get it. Hello, Beth Ellen. You know, it's kind of stupid because vertical lives certainly do attract more viewers, which hopefully leads to more subscriptions. But who really knows? I imagine eventually I'll be doing horizontal streams. simply because they look better. And chatting in a horizontal stream is certainly easier than vertical. Let's stop for a little bit. All right, Bethel, and this was something I bought on Lapidary Dave's live sale with Tim. And he said it is fossilized stromatolite. But someone in the chat was saying that it is probably some sort of rhyolite. And I might agree with that synopsis. How to face this? Well, I could just say it's done like that. Okay, live's over, everybody. Go home. I think I'll stick with the original plan. But now, cushion cut or oval? And I probably should have cut this in half, but it will just be a really thick cab. All this time, you people thought I knew what I was doing. All this time, I've been winging it. Hmm. I hope you didn't come for the conversation. If you just joined, I'm cutting some rhyolite. What kind of rhyolite it is, I really don't know. But it's some interesting material for sure. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe. Yeah, Jeff, that is the truth. Usually, though, when I'm not cutting things under pressure like this, I take frequent breaks and study the piece. And try to see if I'm doing the right thing or not. Take a short break right now. Oh, don't talk about hot wings, man. I need to eat. All right, well, it's starting an ovalish shape. And let's change out the water really fast. Oh, this is some dirty, dirty stuff. If you have questions, I will try to answer them if I see them. Good evening, Harold. Trying to do ovals without a template still takes me a little time. And they can turn out very, very bad. But, you know, that's the process of learning. Got to make the mistakes to get really good. Hmm. Hi, Brenda. How's it going? Well, that's kind of a dome started. I'll work more on that as I go down the chain here. How about we dome that other side? Welcome in, Jerry. I knew you'd be here. Hi, Josh. I didn't see you in there. Welcome in. I do appreciate everyone that came in, especially you who stayed. Hey, chubby hubby, how's it going? No, you're not late. I know there's a lot of people that are either live or watching other lives, so it's all good. I was just thinking this stuff would make great beads. Well, maybe not the desired result that I was aiming for, but I'm not going to complain. I think that looks pretty cool. Hello, Lonnie. All right, so let's give it a real quick way. So this little bead or whatever it is, after the 80 grit centered diamond burr, we have a weight of 5.4 carats. What is that? About 9.3 or 4 by 8 by 9. 9.4 by 9 by 8. If anyone knows how to polish this stuff, all I have is the cerium oxide, so pretty cool. All right, next victim, for those who just showed up, I took this slab of howardite and I cut off a little hunk. So we're going to have a hunk of howardite. Yeah, you don't want that. Okay. Enough of my singing. I'll leave that for you, Jerry. Obviously, this will remain Muzz' favorite, a triangle. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Excuse me while I go eat some peanut butter and banana sandwiches on the throne, if you know what I mean. Okay, this is 13.1 carats and is 15 by 12 by 9 millimeters to start. Obviously, this weird slope, I could leave it like that, or I could even it out. What do you think? Should I make it equal thickness or leave it sloped? Hey, Chubby, if Howard wants it, he can come get it. Whoopsie. I do love the feathery texture on this. Oh, is it still raining there? Well, that sucks. We had a small amount Monday night. Not enough. It has been very dry this year. This stuff seems pretty hard as well. Well, this stuff is going to take quite a while to wear down. Now, if I had a decent saw, I could have cut off some of that extra. Oh well. Yes, unindicted. This is an 80 grit sintered diamond bit, and it is the coarsest one that I have. I picked this one because it's the thickest, the largest diameter one I have. Actually, yeah, it is. Maybe. Wait a minute. Yeah, it is. I have another that's the 170 for the next stage, but I also have that one, which is also 170. I have another similar for the 80 grit. And I have another 80 grit that looks like that. It's just nice to have a variety. Hi, Cheryl. Well, mostly because I've memorized them, but because I don't want people thinking that I have like a super good memory or anything. The tray I created, let's not get it wet, has each grit type labeled. Black is for the 80 grits. Green or bluish green is the 107 or 100 grit for the green. The blues are 170. Reds are 325. Yellows are 600. And that helps me. I mean, I'm not perfect memory, but they're not as easy to memorize as the Nova bits, because Nova bits, you know, they're gray is 1200, brown is 600, and the black is the 280. Hey Fred, how's it going? You get all your rocks sorted out yet? You know, since this thing is already kind of wonked, I may try to dome this side, which might help in the removal process. Yeah, vertical stream chats are a lot rougher. Yes, unindicted. Go check out Just One More Rock. He has a really good channel. He's been doing a lot of live sales. So if you need some great material like pet wood, I believe he just got a ton of pet wood. Literally a ton of pet wood. Or maybe half a ton. Also, Jerry has a channel. Brenda, do you have a channel? I can't remember. Jeff has a channel. Guess I may need to make a moderator here eventually. Chubby Hubby puts out content as well. A lot of good comedy-oriented stuff. All right. So Brenda has no channel. I think Jerry makes up for that, though. Jeff at J&V does lots of live content. A whole lot of crazy people here. All of us addicted to rocks. Trying to eyeball the girdle thickness. Definitely need lots of practice on that. I am getting better, though. So just, take heart. If you don't think you can do this, you can. You just need to practice. Lots and lots of practice. Technically, I haven't even cut 300 stones yet. But it really helps to watch other people do it, even people, that aren't Dremel cutting. Just watching other people's techniques is very helpful. Welcome in, Stephen. About time. Is Sir Rock still cutting, or did he finish up? All right. Not really happy with this chip here. Probably just because I'm using such an aggressive grit. Looks like it's coming out all right so far, though. Lovely stuff. All right, that is the 80 grit. And at this point, this piece of howardite, oops, let's get it off the grams. 6.5 carats for that, out of 13.1 to start. So half of it's gone. I mean, that's to be expected. Not sure it's a perfect equilateral triangle. Let's find out. All right, we're looking at 16 point, maybe 3, maybe 4. Oop, that side's a little bigger. So it's close. That was about, yeah, it's about 16. So thickness, we're looking at 6.1. It is very close, yes. Hi, Resist Depression. How are you doing? We are cutting howardite jasper. Now look at how weird it looks when it's dried out. And I honestly hope that cerium oxide polishes this up. Otherwise, I could run it up to the 50,000 grit Nova burr. Ooh. Yeah, how far do I have to go to get that out, or will it even come out? This could be related to this side here, which was in the stone to begin with. Also, I worked on this piece of mushroom rhyolite. Guess it's going to be a bead shape more than anything else. Let's get that wet. This stuff is pretty cool as well. Let's go ahead and move on to the next grit after we dump the basin again. Get rid of that chicken noodle soup or whatever it is brewing down in there. All right, I think we can put the 80 grit back for now. Onward to the next 170, or 100 rather. I think that's the 100. Yep, it's green, it's 100. Let's go ahead and put my other. It's weird though, the difference between these green and black. Green and black. It's fairly noticeable. But, you know, once your eyesight starts going bad, all right, enough of my jabbering. My jibber jabbering. Stephen, yes, only the cool people cut opal. We get it. But, you know, keep it a secret, all right? Just got to remember which ends I'm doming here. Should probably be dopping these. Makes it a lot easier to control. Whoops. Well, that wasn't good. Luckily, it stayed on the table. If this thing falls, it's going to roll forever, I think. All right, so I thought this was going to be an oval, but given how thick a piece is, it is going to end up just being like a bead, some sort of nearly spherical bead. Get a closer up look. Ooh, chippy. Never mind that. Looks fairly flat and even. This area at the tip looks problematic because that looks like a crack. Same with this beautiful crevice there. That's probably not coming out unless I want to bring that in a lot more, and I'm not sure I care to do that right now. Simply because this is the test piece and perfection isn't really necessary at this point. All right, well, that is supposedly a dome. I think ultimately, I mean, this would be great if I could drill a hole straight through it. Nice little rhyolite bead. Thank you for the compliment. I need to refill the water reservoir really quickly. So pardon the interruption. You can sit here and watch dripping water for a couple of seconds, I guess. All right. That should keep it going for another hour or so. Assuming I want to be online for another hour. All right, I think 170 is, or the 100's done its bit. And I think I'm going to skip 170 and 325 and go to the 600. Well, heck. Unintentional bead number one. I have all of your attention. Well, that's good. The weird thing about this stuff is with the contrast between the tan and the darker browns. I probably need a much better lighting than I have currently. But, I mean, it's coming along nicely. It rolls kind of straight. Have fun, Jeff. Tell her hello for all of us. Alright, that looks pretty good for the setting edge. That little crack there is going to give me fits. Yeah, I don't think my son, who is probably as old as you are, Stephen, is going to be much interested in that. All right, so the thickness on this thing isn't exactly even on the girdle. So maybe I can fix that. Maybe I shouldn't care. As I do not set any of the stones I cut, it isn't my problem. Oh, man, with that attitude. That's really just not a good attitude, is it? I really need an expert to tell me when it's close enough. I also have this fear of going too far. When is enough enough? Well, my towel is getting super wet today. Does that mean I'm a messy cutter? I suppose it will have to do. Seems like this side is a little thinner. I blame this crack here, and not my own lack of skill. Time to move on. First off, I'm going to get out a new dryer towel here. Of course, letting it drip on the table is probably a great idea either. 1 second here. Wring out that towel. That'll help speed the drying process. Maybe. We're past the hard part, though, I think. Let's hit this with the 280 grit Nova Burr. Emphasis on the burr. No, it's not very cold here today, thankfully. Oh, excuse me. It is warming up to normal June-ish weather. Second drop. If you're keeping track, no, actually third, sorry. Whoa. Mm. There's the fourth one. Oops. That one did fall off, I think. Nope. It's underneath. Underneath the tray, thankfully. No, it did fall off. Now that's bad. Oops. 1 second. Well, that's not fun at all. So, I'm going to play hunt for the rhyolite. And you guys get to be bored. Well, that is not good at all. Well, I assure you it's on the floor somewhere. Well, lost for all eternity. No, I'll find it. No need to bore people. I'm going to switch to the bullet tip burr. How are you doing, Doug? Make sure to hit that like. I'm only 43 away from 1,000, or at least that's when I started. Yeah, that's the 280 grit Nova Point. I just got off the barrel, which was perfect for the rhyolite round I was making until it took a fling off into unknown parts somewhere on the floor. I didn't hear it hit the actual floor, so it's on the carpeting somewhere. I mean, that's not a bad shape. And that's kind of ugly there. But for my first time on this material, yeah, definitely howardite is fantastic stuff. In fact, this is the worst slab I have of it, and that's probably the dullest section. And all of this dark material is like chalcedony. So it will pass light if it's thin enough. In fact, if you want to hold on, I will get my light because I need it to locate that other piece. So much for being prepared. Also, I need a drink. And no, I'm not going to open up the beer just yet. I think I'll save that for when I can't find this other piece. All right. So let's see if this works. Ah, bingo. So this other stuff on this end will be very nice once it's cabbed up. I'm not sure if any of that UVs. I have not double checked that yet. And I don't really have a good UV light for that. Just 1 second while I hunt around. I don't see it, obviously, so that's an issue. Eventually I'll find it and I'll be able to finish it. So sad. So, pro tip for everyone, hold on to your stones, especially if you're working near the edge of a table. No bueno when you let go of or lose control and they go flying off somewhere else. Like that, yeah. Oh, better be careful not to screw it up now. Moonshine, you know, there are days. Unfortunately, I really don't do as much drinking as I used to. My body does not like the morning after. I probably should dop this to continue, but I don't think I want to put you guys through that process just yet. Hey, Edge, what's up? So, Age, I dropped the little bead of the rhyolite that I was working on. And so it's somewhere on the floor, probably rolled underneath the shelving that I have here. Unfortunate. And then I cut a hunk off the edge of this howardite. And that is what you're seeing right now, this beautiful little triangle-shaped babe. Oh, believe it or not, there is some light pass through on this. Not a lot, but some. So, yeah, actually, this is the worst of the slabs that I got. And even it's pretty cool. I was just showing people the fabulous transparency of that chalcedony or whatever that is. I'm glad I got some of this stuff. This is just super cool material. And while I was talking, look what I stepped on. Oh boy. Get out of here, hair. What a good boy I am. So, yay me. Wood fingerprint, you know, I think it does look a lot like petrified wood, but I'm not really an expert on the wood. And Stephen, keep your mouth shut. But it's very wood grain-esque for sure. So the original intent with this piece was to make an oval cab, but it was so thick that it just kind of turned into this bead, which I'm not going to complain. Not sure if there's going to be any way for me to actually verify if this is as even and uniform as I want it to be. I don't think it really matters. Whoops, there she goes again. Staying on the table at least. I think we're done with that one for now. I think I will move on to the 600 as well for the howardite. So, Age of Anderson, have you cut any of this howardite before? And if so, how did you polish it? Cerium oxide, okay. Well, that's perfect because basically that's all I have to work with right now. And it was my plan to try that, and if it didn't work, well, you know, I can get it up to the 14 or 50K Nova burrs. Should get it fairly shiny. Hello, Starwinter. Hello, Lonnie, if I didn't say hello to you already. I mean, even at 600 grit, it looks pretty decent. But I'm sure it will look fantastic once it gets a proper polish on it. Sadly, with these little crevices in here, I know I'm going to end up getting some cerium stuck in there. So, it is what it is. So, not bad, I think, for winging it. Whoops. And as on a positive note, at least, darn it, I'm a little less nervous cutting stuff live, which helps. This thing just wants to fly. My shell. I'm not a Ninja Turtle, for God's sake. Hey, that one hit the other bin. I made a basket. 2 points. So gonna have to go back and see at what point this turned into just a little round bead instead of my original intent. All right, well, we're coming up on 2 hours. $27% left on the phone. Whoops, reconnecting. Stupid phone. Guess it doesn't like me checking during the live how much charge is left. Definitely not perfectly round, but hey. Close enough for beadwork, I guess. But how to sell this to make it worth the time? Nobody's going to want to pay more than probably $5 for that. Ditto this. I mean, I know nothing about pricing. So, the round little rhyolite now weighs 4.9 carats. And honestly, I think the rhyolite's more dense than the howardite. That started out at 10.35 carats. The howardite now weighs 5.4 carats, and it started out as 13.1. So that's probably close to its final weight. Hey, well, how did that get in there? You weren't supposed to see that. How about I do a little bit of rubbing on this? I may not cut the whole thing here. Hey, KLA, thanks for coming in. Better than being a square. Yeah, after cutting the bead shape that I have, I may turn the rest of this into something similar. We'll see. I mean, I just cut a small hunk off the end. Sorry, the end. Because I was just testing it. So I probably will cut bigger pieces that I can make honest to God cabs out of. But given the thickness, beads do make sense. Yeah, this is the last piece of lambina I got from my mysterious benefactor, who will remain nameless. I have some boulder opal, if you recall, which I didn't really want to cut because boulder opal is kind of messy, but after dealing with this stuff, boulder's not too much more, isn't too much more messy than this rhyolite. All right, so this lambina is 3.85 carats, is 12 by 9.7 by 7.2 millimeters as the starting point. And given its weird shape, I mean, I can freeform it, but I think I can also slice just above this lip here through this main part and come out above this lip. And maybe I will have two little stones after that fact. But certainly we should take a bit of the junk off of this thing. And we'll have a better idea of how to proceed. But as mentioned in the Live 3 review, I will probably do just this as a separate video. And honestly, I should probably be using the 600 grit simply because it will be much faster. Enter the cone-shaped centered diamond bit on the 600 grit. No, Patricia, I have not gotten a saw yet. Best I have is this little Dremel cutoff wheel, which, you know, technically that's a saw, but as you can see, it doesn't slab very thick pieces, and it takes a while. And it kind of frightens me sometimes. Well, the nice thing about this boulder is it's been rubbed. So it'd just be down to shaping it and then refining the surface for a polish. So it's not exactly horrible. I'm not sure you can see that. Nice flashy green in there. Definitely gonna have to look at this one closely. Because I don't want to just start grinding willy-nilly. Not gonna be grinding Willie Nelson here. And if I knew any Willie Nelson songs, I could probably try to karaoke just enough to not get a copyright strike. Let's see, which brand of Harbor Freight do you know, or is it just their name brand? And second question, did you buy a dedicated lapidary blade for it? Or are you using the one that came with it? Because I'll definitely, probably definitely, there's a commitment. Have to check that out. Between World of Rockhounds and Lapidary Dave in the past month alone, I've spent nearly 100. Stephen, are you laughing at the Willie Nelson joke or what? I can imagine somebody watching this live without having the chat replay. And be like, there's this crazy old dude cutting some rocks talking to himself. I don't know if it's just the people in his head or what. Do not recommend. Nice bit of sand there. I need to come pick it up. Yeah, I'm going to spend $1,000 traveling to pick up a 7-inch saw. I mean, maybe that's a good deal. It'd be a great excuse for a trip, though, wouldn't it? All right, that might be clean enough to get a good idea what's going on here. The opals are all in my head, Mr. Chubby Hubby. So you're going to have to cut that open to get to them. All right, so this is a better look at what's in here. I think like a lot of this is going to be just potch. Definitely there's some color in there, but see a nice bit there. It's hard to tell where that bar runs. So maybe my idea of cutting it like right along through there. I leave a little bit of this on this side. Boy, this is tricky. In freeforming, it's going to be tough just because of these little weird ledges. Decisions. Or, hear me out, hammer time. No, I'm just kidding. Interesting. Well, now that we've officially gone over 2 hours, I think we can wrap this up. So, we have this beautiful rhyolite, probably not stromatolite bead, which, I don't know, you can probably notice it's not super round, but it's a good bead shape. And this lovely triangle of howardite, that honka howardite. Thank you very little. I do like that. It came out pretty well for such a noob. Of course, those little crevasses in there kind of suck, but, you know, whatever. I could have definitely domed it from that side. I still could, but it would bring it down a lot. Anyhow, what do you think? Let's get them wet again. I enjoyed doing this, and I'm glad you guys all came along to watch and laugh along with me as I lost this round one. Thanks, Alan. Just to show you guys, you know, that Dremels are really pretty good at doing this. Granted, you're limited because they're just not very big. They are super skinny on the burrs. And if I could locate, there it is. So we're talking like 16, 15-ish millimeters in length. Whoa, earthquake. So if you're good, I mean, I've cut bigger ones than that. The Zebra Onyx was a much larger cab. And if I practice enough, I certainly can produce larger cabs. Anyway, hey Phil, welcome in. looks like you're just in time for the end of this, unfortunately. So, everyone, remember to like and subscribe, or you can even hit the thumbs down. It's still engagement, but don't unsub, okay? Yeah, it takes a lot of practice, but anybody can do it. And Dremels are pretty cheap. And the sintered diamond burrs are running, they were like 14 bucks a piece. And I think the Novas were 10 or 11. So it's pretty affordable. I mean, $100 will get you a pretty good variety of the grit sizes you'd need. And of course, I have some felt burrs that I bought off of Amazon that were 10 bucks for around 20, I think. It was a bunch. This is like the fifth one that I've used. So they wear out fairly quickly, but they're cheap. And of course, you'll need the cerium oxide as well. But all in all, if you're just getting started and want to practice and try cutting some stuff, ultimately, if you're getting into opals, they'll be the most expensive part of the whole thing, which is a shame. But start with mediocre pieces, mostly potch, practice till you get the shapes down, and then start looking for the color. All right, thanks again. I'm going to end this now and go eat some dinner, and I'll see you all in whichever live is next. Take care, everyone.